Welcome to Eric A. Bradley Live, where we bring you the fight show. In today's episode, we're going to delve into the art of style matchups so that you can take these methods and use them for yourself. And today, there's a special segment brought to you by the Real Fight Doctor, dissecting how styles clash and strategies collide to create unforgettable moments inside of the boxing ring. But that's not all. You'll have to stay tuned to see how we reveal the one tip that could catapult a fighter's career to new heights, multiplying their success tenfold. This is the $600,000 question in combat. So get ready for an inside look in the world of combat sports, right here on the Fight Show Live with Eric A. Bradley. With no further ado, let's get into it. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Fight Show, and we are going to dive directly into the Devin Haney versus one of the most permeating figures in all of combat sports, together, Ryan Garcia. So we will unpack this, but before we get started, getting deeply into this conversation, which is warranted because these guys have worked their butts off in this promotion. What we're going to do today is we're going to have a great segment by yours truly. The Real Fight Doctor is going to break down something that a lot of people are not really aware of in the sport of boxing. And, you know, what our focus is to make sure that we make this sport much simpler for you guys to understand. And so I think once you watch this segment done by the Real Fight Doctor, what will happen is you'll really be able to shed more light on this actual sport that we call boxing. So appreciate that moment where you will get to really take notes and simplify it for yourself. So, but before we get started, we'd like to make sure that we say hello to the sponsors who keep the lights on, the lights, the cameras, the action, the mics. Jab Juice Consulting Agency. Now, a lot of us have an amazing gift and a talent, and we've transcended it into our business. But when you find that the business that you produce isn't producing the popularity and the revenue stream of it, you want to make sure that you can take it to that next level. Well, like we do for boxing, make sure you simplify this. And that's where you get the consulting and the direction. And that's how you get to that next level of your journey. Don't stay and get complacent in that space. All it takes is a couple of answers. Needing answers, you get the answers and move to the next echelon of your career. And with the talent, now you couple that with the knowledge and experience, 4 decades of experience going directly into your direction, your journey, jabjuice.com, the consulting agency that's here to take you to your next level. That's all I got for that. So remember, now we're going to get into what is it that makes this combat game so amazing. So I said to you earlier that we're going to have a conversation with a couple of the bigger names in the sport. And I want those guys to shed a light on this. But here are a couple of things that's interesting as I table this. You can now get ready to go directly into how we go about simplifying the sport of boxing for you, and so that it's more comprehensive. So you're going to really have an appreciation of how this is broken down, because these young fellas have done an amazing job with the promotion. But with no further ado, I'm about to let you guys get a whiff of what the actual Real Fight Doctor has in store for you. Enjoy this take, and I'll see you in a second. To determine who will win in a fight, unless you understand that there are only 2 types of fighters in the world. And once you understand that, knowing who will win a fight is all about addition and subtraction. That's what I'm about to share with you. You'll be surprised that as difficult as boxing appears to learn, that there are only 2 type fighters in the world. First, there's an input fighter and an output fighter. The input fighter is someone who collects data. You'll see them as the squirrel the one that is on the back foot, always receiving, and you will find those individuals operate off of fear. And they also have a very high instinct for survival. Predators that you don't want to corner. That's an input fighter. Output fighter is the person that wants to be on the attack. Mike Tyson in the 80s, George Foreman, people who came after you to club you. What you'll find interesting is that Devin Haney here is the input fighter. And so therefore, he'll be the one that collects the data, figures out when it's going to be the proper time to strike, and then he's going to allow himself to just attack where the spots are available. Now, Ryan Garcia is an output fighter. The thing about Ryan Garcia is he likes to attack, but he's also learned that there are benefits. So when you look at his last fight, he's adopted characteristics of an input fighter. He was in trouble here over in this fight. He was finding himself in a situation where the other fighter was as strong as he was. So he ended up learning how to operate off of his back foot, which benefited him well. See, an input fighter operates out of fear. Fear of what's possible to happen, fear of what he's going to allow the opposition to do. So therefore, their instincts heighten. This is a good thing. And now he has experience operating off of his back foot. So you can expect when things get tough that Ryan Garcia is going to make an adjustment, because you can see right here, he was in trouble, but he also figured out, if I draw this guy to me, I'm going to walk him into my power. Now, when you see Devin Haney, he's also picking up other characteristics from the opposing style fighter, the output fighter. But he's found himself in sticky situations when he was up against Lomachenko and Linares. When he fought those guys, he switched up his style. And he almost paid the price. He reverted back to who he truly was. And that was the difference in the fight. Be who you are, and that's going to be enough. The thing about this is both of these guys have been in the ring with each other 6 times prior. They understand one another's characteristics. The thing about it is, who will be able to adapt in those moments to the opposition's natural characteristics and instincts? And this is why this fight is going to be much different than a lot of people think. Input and output fighter. One thing is for sure, you can expect fireworks either way. Back to you guys. And continue to follow for more boxing insight. All right. And that's the breakdown. Like, one of the things that makes it so unique when we talk about these two style fighters, there are only two type fighters, and a lot of people get it confused when they don't quite understand. The data is all about knowing who brings what and how to take that thing away from you. So when you are dealing with boxing, it gets so complex because there are so many different arms. We call it the octopus of all combat, because every time you learn something a particular way, or you learn to offset something someone else has, you're also then shifted by the next voice in the corner saying, oh, this is not the right way to do it. Have you ever experienced thinking something was right and someone telling you it was not the right way? Well, the reason why that is because there are 4 stages in boxing when it comes to, the 4 phases where most people don't understand. It starts out with your technique. This is when you're learning boxing, and that you develop your technique so that you can acquire a skill, and then your skills start to develop into sets. That means not only can you crawl, but now you can actually stand up. And once you're able to stand up, you start to wobble, right? And every time you get better, now your skills are coming into sets. Not only can you stand up, you can walk and then start jogging. See, that's a combination of skills. Taking a step is one thing. Holding the balance is another thing. Starting to jog, that's an entirely different skill set that requires a different mechanic. when you are developing a style, a boxer, once they get past the skills and sets, meaning they can put this thing together in a array or a display, now it's time for you to go to the next level, which is your craft in boxing. The craft is what you've created with those ingredients. And now you have a pot of gumbo. It has the shrimp, it has all of the things that's required. The crayfish is what most people don't truly understand the complexity of boxing, because sometimes someone is trying to explain to you something about boxing that's at a different stage of boxing. And this is why you have to understand your vernacular before you start learning techniques and skills and sets and your craft and concepts, because now you got this all down. You have to really make it conceptually make sense to you, and that's what happens. And so you'll find someone who, when you get to the amateurs, that's one thing, but when you get to the professional ranks, it's not boxing anymore, it's called prize fighting. And these two guys are prize fighters. So in prize fighting, you use more craft and more caginess. It's about the recipe that you develop over the amateur career. Hence is why it's hard for you to encourage someone to go straight pro, because there are so many things that you do not understand. And I would always suggest anyone write an essay about what you think professional boxing is. And if it matches up with what it actually is, then you move forward. So that was one of the questions that was actually posed that I was going to speak to later on in the show. But what I want you guys to understand is that you'll be so much better when you understand boxing from the dictionary, from the Bible of boxing. And it'll take a very long time if you don't understand that you're trying to piece these things together. So, understanding there are only two types of fighters: one who is an input fighter, as the real fight doctor was just breaking down to you and anointing you with the knowledge that will help give you comprehension of this sport, is a person who has possible great athletic ability, but typically not a heavy duty puncher like a Mike Tyson. So therefore, they have to respect the opposition. So their antennas are up. They are operating off of how you're operating because they don't want to make a mistake. Boxing is about the sweet science of hitting and not getting hit. But at the same time, it measures up to who you are as a human being. Are you operating with reckless abandonment? And if you don't, that means you are in levels. When it comes down to it, you are an input fighter, meaning data has to come into you before you create offense. And another type is the output. When you're an output fighter, you're a heavy puncher. You're coming at it. You don't think twice. How you pick the winners between those two is understanding which one has adopted enough of the other's skill and embedded it into their muscle memory. Hence is why it's so hard to beat guys like Crawford, because they've adapted the ability to box off his back foot, box walking forward, catch and counter, switch hit. It's like he has two brains. He's an input and an output fighter. And when you become that, you are a master boxer. And that's the sweet science. So hopefully that gives you the ability to table it whenever you're confused. And when someone else is telling you, no, you're not doing this right. Because sometimes when you're learning a skill in sets, or you're learning a particular technique, you're learning that skill from a different phase of boxing. Someone who's a prize fighter is going to tell you something different because you're operating from a craft. It's not techniques now, it's the methodology to take away someone else's technique and disturb that. And that's what boxing is all about. So it's not about technique and how perfect your craft is when you're a prize fighter. Your technique and that skill, that stuff doesn't matter like that. You see boxers that 100% of them make mistakes all fight long, right? Cosign on it, because boxing isn't meant to be done by human beings. The ability to do this and take it, someone's, what their willpower is trying to impose on you away from them, that's a real skill set. That's science. So, with that being said, I'm going to leave you with this last tip. When you began amateur boxing, you probably knew very little about how to fight, but when you box, you learn how to protect yourself in a way until you're able to fight. And when you are in the professional ranks, you fight and then you implement boxing to get you out of sticky situations. And so you use the best of the best and watch that pendulum swing. And most of you have probably never had the opportunity to box against a high level professional and a high level amateur, but when you get an opportunity to box at a high level, it's not the same thing. So you want to be careful when these two guys go into this thing and they start to fight. It's going to be lights out. And now, when this next section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little something about my man. And I want to bring my man in here to speak on this. He's in the building. My man Otis. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up? What's up, guys?
It's all good, brother. It's all good. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you guys, definitely.
Yeah, man. Well, you know what the preface is, man. We just tabling the conversation and the matchups. And so the hot topic is the styles of these guys. And so I gave them a concept that basically just says when it's hard to figure out who will win a fight, you got to decide what are the characteristics of these guys going into the ring. I said, we have Ryan Garcia as an output fighter, a person who comes forward. He likes to punch and knock your head off. That's who he is. That's his identity. Regis Prograde, another guy who has that same mentality. And then the guy like Devin Haney, you look at Devin Haney, he's a input fighter. He only operates off what he gets put in, his input. That's what makes him great at what he does, because he's a master at that. That's where he's comfortable, and he's trying to adopt that other stuff. So when you look at these two fighters, man, what is prolific in your head? What stands out about each one of those guys? Because you have a storied career, and you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame like a couple of different times, and you should get your start because you did something just like I see Jake Paul. He's done something that people kind of acknowledge him, but really not, because he's doing a lot for boxing other than fights. He's helping a whole lot of different people in the communities. What you were able to do is you was able to introduce, an athlete. You're a superior athlete. Otis played for the Ravens. Otis is won the first reality show, and that show now is the same show that Dana White is using in the UFC, which has been going 20 years, I think, or something like that. But you launched that. You was straight out of the gate. You was first. Like, you were the first guy to ever win one of those things, and nobody besides you and Sergio Mora went on to win world titles. So, hats off to you. And I'm introducing my man, if you didn't realize. You got you got some real legends in the game. So with that being said, your point of view matters. So drop it off. Let me know, what is it about each one of these fighters that you see? And I won't get into predictions until Saturday after the weigh-in. But what is it that you see?
What I see is a lot of cerebral knowledge on both of their parts, even out of the ring, to the point where they are you know, a lot of tongue in cheek, you know, about
Yeah.
this and that. They know each, like you were saying earlier, they fought each other a lot of times, so they actually know what buttons to push.
Oh yeah.
It's gotten to the point, like anytime a professional fighter strikes you in a face-off, then that
Mm-hmm.
means that you are living rent-free inside of his head. A lot of
Yeah.
people are taking Ryan because he's playing possum, I believe. Um,
Yeah.
they're taking him as you know, like, oh, he's on drugs, he's spun out, da da da. But you know, at the end of this, he might, you know, be walking with a limp and then just straighten out and start doing a pimp walk. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like,
Kaiser
just like
Soze.
usual suspects. You know what I'm saying?
Unusual suspects. Y'all
Yeah,
go pull
yeah.
that up.
Yeah, he might pull it off like that. The attribute that's gonna matter. The only attribute when it comes down to great fights, you know, when people are at an extreme talent level, when it's at a multimedia market,
Yeah.
adaptability. Who's
Yeah.
going to adapt? Because a lot of things can happen the night of the fight. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
told one time when I was wearing some sponsored Jordan brand boxing shoes that I was
Yeah.
given for my first world title fight, and I didn't go out and check the ring, so I started slipping all over the canvas. And
Yeah.
I
Ring.
get back to the corner. And the first round, I'm like, these shoes, I can't even stand up. I'm like, man, me on ice out there. And then Nasser Navarone grabs my face and he goes, listen, a lot of things are going to go wrong. A
Yeah.
lot. He goes, but you got to adapt.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. A lot of
Yeah.
things are going to go wrong. I think Devin's going to get out there and figure out that he's in a harder fight than he anticipated.
Yeah.
Ryan is very long. Ryan is very fast. And with speed and length comes power.
Yeah.
Ryan is the hardest puncher out of both of them because of time, distance, and length.
And
Like
quickness
Devin
with that
doesn't
punch.
have one punch power. If Ryan catches you the right way with one punch, as we've seen in the past with Campbell and people like that, you'll be on the turf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that,
Absolutely. He is a very, very violent guy. He was really in there roughing it up with Tank. And you said it, the way that he actually utilizes his length when he's doing right is really difficult to deal with. And that's one of the things I said to people. What makes you think that you can fight somebody 6 times and it's going to be a blowout the seventh time? Like, that makes no sense. This is people who are in the sport. But one of the things when you were speaking to the ring, Otis, and I know when you had your experiences, that was something that it really matters that you have older people, because Coach Bradley told me how to go and check the ring. Like, that's a responsibility. Get off your ass and put the breakfast down. We got to go ring check. And I'm like, the hell is that? You know, I'm a snotty nosed kid. Like, what? I mean, very few pure people don't understand. You know, we have four phases of how to go do that. And then when I was able to do that with him so many different times, and it mattered every time, it mattered. It wasn't not one time that it didn't come into play. So when you understand those kind of tricks, and then the old mongoose said directly to the Yvonne Durrell fight, that was how he got knocked down, because he didn't know 4 times. He didn't know that was what was required to do, because the ring was made of like marshmallow. He was like, it sunk in, and he was sinking when he was boxing. And so Yvonne Durrell knocks him down 4 times later to suck it all up from a man who hits like a absolute King Kong, and to turn the fight around and to knock him down 4 times in one of the the most violent fights known to boxing. I mean, you got to put George Foreman versus Ron Lyle, which was only 4 rounds. So it's not even close to what the carnage that Archie Moore, Yvonne Durrell put on display that night.
I'll give you one though. I'll give you one for you boxing historians out there. Joe Jeanette against the French guy in the black heavyweight world championship in France. They knocked each other down, I think, 19 or 20 times apiece. The white ring, the apron of the ring turned completely red and smeared with blood. And then finally the French guy was like, hey, man, I can't go back out there. I'm going to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he won. And it
and
was
then
called
there's that.
the black heavyweight championship because they weren't allowing black people to fight for the world title at that particular time. So
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, because those guys don't realize there used to be limitless rounds, unlimited rounds. Like you would go, this guy's fighting 45 rounds. You know, you go back to Jess Willard and Jack Johnson,
and
which is one
they
of
went
the
to that fight went to 26 rounds.
26 rounds. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just think about that. It just goes to show you where the human body has evolved from, because it was in the hot sun too. So you think about these fighters. When I think about Ryan Garcia, here's the plus. He's super talented. And let me wrap this thing around for you who have had trouble. If you fought and you had trouble with longer fighters, like even if you're tall too, but you've always had trouble with longer fighters, this is where you understand how to play the role. Because if you going into a brick house, it's more likely that you can blow over a straw house than a brick house. So you don't try to beat them with what they have best. If a fighter is longer than you, then you fight in a shorter distance. And how do you go about doing that? It's all about creating consistent lateral movement. Now, here's the thing. That's not just available. He's not going to just let you do it. Sometimes I think people get advice and tips and they say, okay, well, I try. No, you got to work that. Every skill that you implement into your body, if you're consistent, takes 848 hours of building that muscle memory. So if you say, yeah, I did it, we worked on it like 12 times. I'm just like, well, you ain't bringing that into the fight. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the main reasons where you go into a training camp with a new trainer. Let's just say Ryan Garcia is in there with Derek James. He doesn't know Derek James' system. No, neither can he use anything that Derek James has taught him. No. That stuff is just floating around in the back of his head when he's in the ring against someone. Like
he will attempt to use it, but as soon as he gets in trouble, he's going right back to what he knows.
Yeah, but Derek James was on the record. So I got this on the record. You might have missed that show that Derek was like, I ain't telling him to do that Philly shell and that moving around like he was doing. Like that won't, you know what I'm saying? That like it's Floyd stuff, man. But
and you can't just decide to do that. That takes like you said, that takes hours and hours and hours and hours, of things to do. When you're doing things the right way, for instance, like having an educated lead hand.
Yeah.
That took me like 5 years as a pro.
Yeah.
And
you was a strong boxer. And you was a strong boxer. You were born
off the jab in a fight, and I was like, ooh, I was like, oh man.
When you are strong, because you were strong, like I knew that you worked out, but I said, but that's God too. That like you was born like that. Like you can't work out till you look like you. You know what I'm saying? So, but what I do want to share with people is when you are you're very straight up too. You got a good posture, like you could wear a suit, you could wear gear, like you could, because you got that frame. When you have that kind of a body, you learn how to turn. If you learn how to turn, it is so much better for a guy who has that framework, because that's one of the things I liked about Rashad. He was tall frame. He was always taller than the guy who was sparring until we were sparring. We were sparring against my boys, Julius and all of these guys. And then he started going out west and sparring with Shane and Angulo and all of those guys. But when you understand how to create the turn, which Coach Bradley was always making you realize, he was 350, between 315 and 350, 6'1". hands like this, but could move like a welterweight. Like quick, he smacked me in the face like boom, like almost knocked me unconscious. Like I'm standing here, like he's like, see, look, cuz don't matter if you small, bam. You know what I'm saying? Don't matter how big I am, like I can still do. And he knew how to pop. And so one of the things that I took away that he always made clear, and this is generational. You're talking about Coach Adams, Coach Bradley, like that's 100 years of just experiences. And so he said, always when you got a fighter in a position and that fighter has range, always take immediate initiative when you get to his angle off of that straight line, that when you let your punches go, you let them go in bunches, because you're not going to go through a fair exchange. You're still in the middle of the night. And so when you do that, he said, don't load up. You peppering him. The brain shakes with 3 pounds of pressure. If you touch the chin with that 3 pounds, he's out. So the damage you're doing is equivalent to throwing them hard, because all of your body weight's behind it. But you have to learn how to release your hands. There are several fighters. One that I really have a lot of affinity for, I thought he was one of the most athletic fighters in the world. The only thing is he never had a lot of different variables when it came down to his change-up speed. He was sharp, but everything was 1, 2, mostly 3. It was never 7, 8. Boom, 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 boom. And that's a rhythm you have to develop and stuff. So with that being said, we're going to get directly into more of the reflection and the insight to what would you do if you were Ryan Garcia in this fight. That's one of the things that we're going to table, but I want you all to listen to this before we go. This is Bernard Hopkins talking about the scenario with what's going on. And I got something to say, and I want you to weigh in after this as well.
He never hurts nobody. Can he outwork you? Absolutely. But when you in there with a guy that you know that you can take more chances with than not, that's a confidence booster for anybody that's on the other end. That is Ryan Garcia, if that's needed.
All right. So Bernard Hopkins said he doesn't have to worry a lot about Devin Haney's power. Now we're talking about Bernard Hopkins, who won 12 straight years without power. Okay. No one feared his power. He was a purist inside of the ring, remnants of Sugar Ray Robinson without the power. And therefore, there is no way in the world I know he believed that, because he understands that Devin Haney can punch. He just ain't knocking cats out with one punch. But when you start to table that kind of conversation, what is something that that Ryan Garcia will do to have the success? Because I know, the people that train these individuals will watch this. So give them a pointer or two, something they might be able to think about. It might be a last-minute strategy they had. You're the coach of Ryan Garcia. What can he do right now? First quarter of the fight.
He's got to make sure he defines the distance, first of all. He's a tall man. He's got to make sure he defines the distance. He's got to jab consecutive times. He's got to feint. He's got to circle. It's brought to me like when Ali fought Cooper, and he circled him for 5 rounds before he been, doing anything, because he was, what people don't understand about circling, this goes back to war also. When you outflank somebody, no matter how good they think they are or what technique they think, for a moment, they're in a blind spot.
Yes.
The Native Americans used to attack people from the trees because you're in a blind spot. They used to circle the wagons of the pioneers, because no matter how many guns you got in that wagon shooting, as I'm circling, I might get you with an arrow because you're in a blind spot. And that's what Ryan's got to do. He's got to circle the wagons, and he's got to throw those arrows from the outside. And then
Okay.
now once that's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna keep Devin thinking. You know, you got to keep somebody that is that capable thinking all the time, so they don't use all their weapons. And then the next thing he's got to do is he's got to, like I said, continue to throw those feints, and he's got to split Devin's shot every time he thinks that he's going to come in and do something. Right as he's about to do it, he's got to split that shot,
Yes.
or he's got to grab him and hold him and make the referee reset the whole thing. Those are two
Uh,
things that I definitely would do.
that's definitely the thing you got to do. And then you got to say, here's what I want anyone else who has an idea of what Ryan Garcia will need to do. Because I saw a couple of comments in our stories. Somebody literally wrote this. They said that Ryan Garcia is going to starch Devin Haney. Like, he's just going to come out and he's going to smack him. And I understand that mindset because Ryan Garcia has built a great fan base of people. But having these guys in this situation, when you look at it, I want anybody out here, all of you guys, to let me know if you're Devin Haney. Let me know exactly what you would do if you were going out in that fight against Ryan. And if you were Ryan, what would you do? I want to see those in the comment boxes because we're going to pop up on our prediction show on Saturday. But what I think is that people don't understand is when you are fighting and your strategy is going in there, but it goes against who that guy is. Remember, it's only two type fighters: input fighter, output fighter. At best, they can start to mirror things that the other guy does. And a lot of what you said was right, but that's what a pure boxer would do. You get it? So it goes against his, like he'll be in the ring wanting to do it and it'll just explode. Like his last fight, that's what was happening. He was imploding because that was the thing that he needed to do that was against his natural algorithm and culture. Because we know the Mexican fighters are all about bringing smoke, bringing consistent smoke. That's what I see in that scenario. When I look at Ryan Garcia, he made that adjustment, even though I think when it gets hot, he will do it again. It worked for Sean Porter versus Ugas. That's when Sean Porter first made the attempt to box off of his back foot. It looked ugly, and so did Ryan's, and so did one of my younger amateurs back in the day. He was a pure puncher. He was knocking guys out. But then you fight a guy, the kid was a Mexican, like Chavez, built thicker though, and he was like, yo, so when he's hitting the guy, it was different. And we kept saying Ali's, because we got a circuit of Ali's, 8 different footwork drills that teach you particular methods to use off of the back foot. And he finally did it in the second round and walked the dude into the punch. Boom. And one thing people got to realize is the hardest punch is when the person's walking into it. That's why fighting off your back foot, when you know how to master it, you'll look like Ali. You'll look like people who could knock people out, like Sugar Ray Robinson, which was the only man to knock someone out going backwards until Floyd did it to Ricky Hatton in the corner. Just whoosh, and then spin out and take a selfie. You get it? Yeah. So that is what we have to, like, I've done this for over 40 years, man. Like, I want all of the guys to realize everything that I look at. This is why I was hired by ESPN to handicap, because they watched me for, I don't even know how long. Dude was like, we've been watching you for like 2 years, dog. And when you understood this thing, and I just said, yeah, and I understand exactly what to do to break a fight down, fighters. And I don't say my predictions anymore because people think you're biased, but I'm biased because I'm 100% right all the time. One fight, in that fight, the dude didn't show up. He totally was like, didn't go to camp. And I was like, that can happen. And that, I mean, just, it's different. But I think Devin Haney, if I was Devin Haney, I would not go in there trying to come to Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is a man, he's a manic. I mean, in a good way for the boxing ring, for the fighter. Ryan Garcia
Hair-like
is a prime
reaction.
fighter.
Yeah. He has a hair trigger reaction because of his
Yeah.
speed, and you can walk into
Hmm.
a series. Yeah.
It's different. People don't understand. Tank realized when he fought him, like this dude got something. Like he ain't got everything I got because Tank is another guy. He's merged over. He's an input and an output fighter. Because when he's fighting in the gym, you don't want to see. People don't know what he looked like training. I know what he looked like training. He's a dangerous dude. So much more dangerous than people realize. You can't see it when he fighting on fight night because he has to do what helps him win the fight. He can't make mistakes. But when you see him in the gym, you're like, oh, ain't nobody gonna beat this dude in that weight class. And I'm just gonna say that's what it when you see him. I got a video that shows him really working at his pace, the way he really worked. And I'm like, no wonder those guys can't take him. They ain't seen these kind of videos. He ain't got them out there like that. But when you see him on 10, you're like, that's just like when those videos you used to watch of Tyson. It's like that. But he's a lightweight and he's knocking everybody out. It's Tyson and stuff. He's a southpaw. Let me see. Go ahead, Otis. Let me read this question. If I were in Haney's corner, I would keep him using his jab, taking points each round. His ability to do this is of a dynamo. Yeah, he is a dynamo on point. However, also show Ryan that his right hand now has more power than ever before. Yeah, but power. I want you guys to remember when we go through this term, it's called attribute. Attribute fighters. If you're depending on power, boxing is about taking away the attribute. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody's good at it. But those who do become masters of boxing, like Devin Haney, are that way. They can take away what you do. But the difference is, and this is for Ryan, Ryan is so quick. Y'all don't even really understand. Y'all are equating that to power. He got big bones and is extremely quick. So you got to realize that it's more to Ryan than what people realize. You get what I'm saying? Oh, like the
Yeah.
kid. Yeah, I'm thinking people are like, yeah, Devin's gonna go in there and put on a clinic. I said, okay, what part of they don't fought 6 times do the people not understand?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
clinics kind of go out the window.
I
Like,
give you a prime example, and one thing that I'm very excited about. The Sacramento Kings just beat Golden State Warriors last night, right? They
yes,
played 7 times, right? The
yeah,
player of the game, which was
yeah,
Keegan Murray, they said, hey, man, you went out there, had dang near 40 points or whatever. Like,
yeah,
what happened? Like, how did you, like, why now? And how did you do this? He says, well, we played them 7 times. And at that point, I just remembered what points I needed to get my game off.
yeah,
And either they were going to stop me from getting there or they
yeah,
weren't. They did not. He goes, but once you play somebody that many times and you're familiar, you know what you have to do to win. It's just
yeah,
how are you going to get to that? And if you have a plan A, B, or C
yeah.
off of that, and
Facts.
that is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, my man Pugilism, that's a great point there. But my man Pugilism over here on YouTube was like, Ryan's a plus 650. I can't pass that up. I said, yeah. If you bet, you don't care about who wins. You just want to win in betting.
Yeah.
But yes, and for those of you who don't understand, that means he's an underdog. Devin Haney is like plus 800. I mean, minus 800, 850, something like that. But Vegas is the odds are changing consistently because they're watching what's going on. You're looking at Ryan, his body's leaned down, but I think is a little bit of the drying out process. But I'm not really comfortable if I got a fighter who is not truly like living that life, because boxing in the prize fighter world, and you know this, you've been in the ring with Jeff Lacey and all kinds of killers. So you know how many things matter. Every little thing you did wrong, every mile you didn't run, you're thinking about that joint when you in that ring and you're like, legs are gone. Like, and you got to figure out how to overcome this thing. You got to figure out how to overcome this thing. So these are the intangibles. And this round here, we're going to do a quick speed round. So we're going to have some questions pop up, and we want to try to come up with an answer to each one. Anybody out here, you guys, I want you to answer these questions as well. Who is the better prize fighter? Not boxer, prize fighter. So y'all lock in. I want to see my comment boxes blowing up. Who's the best? Otis, go for it.
I would say Devin Haney is the better prize fighter, given the fact that he started from, almost nowhere, going, speeding up his pro career, going to Mexico, being virtually unheard of, fighting his way, talking his way, him and his father talking his way into the right rooms, getting associated with Floyd Mayweather in that camp. And then all of a sudden you look around, and he's been talked about in that weight class when he was at 135 as one of the top 3 or 4 guys, and those guys are looking like, and that's what Shakur included, but I know he was at a lower weight, but he was also in the discussion. They're like, dude, I went to the Olympics. Like, how are you guys gonna put this dude in with me? And he went from there to becoming the undisputed because he took the right chance. He knew who he was fighting. He knew that nobody else was going to go down there and fight him, and he knew that he had a athletic ability that in an intangible a je ne sais quoi that was going to trump what Gambosis was doing. And we had Gambosis on the show, told him to do a lot of stuff on that show that he did not do. But I would say Devin is a better prize fighter because prize fighting is fighting for a prize and lining yourself up to fight for a prize.
Okay. That's definitely, but I think Haney's making more money. So when you want to get to the nuts and bolts of prize fighter, I guess Haney is doing tremendous. I mean, Garcia's doing tremendous because number one, he's making money. He doesn't even have a title. And pugilism here, I love this, that pugilism dropped this great pearl. He said, see Ryan as a true plus 200 just from observing. Haney has a sound fight game. However, still not convinced on Haney's phone booth poise, which that matters really good. I like that point you made. He lost to PO control. What do you say? Yeah, he has to PO control. I don't know what that PO mean, but the guards and shoot the openings. Inside fighting is so much different in pugilism. Thanks for sharing that, because I want you guys to realize he's on to something real. I think Devin Haney has a decent inside game. I don't think he wants to challenge it because you don't want to challenge it in close fights, and you definitely you don't want to challenge inside your inside game. You don't want to challenge it. You want to have it. It's like, don't leave home without it. I better be caught with it than without it. But you got to know how to hold him, how to fold him. You want to control the fight, and he can't control the fight on the inside. You saw go back to Ryan Garcia versus Tank in that first round. Tank, or was it the beginning of the second, and then he got knocked out? It was the second round. He was aggressive. He was dirty boxing on the inside, and not meaning illegal, but that's what you're supposed to do in prize fighting. There was methods that were taught. Because see, my lineage is down here. When you got guys like George Benton, a part of your tree, when you got guys like the Tommy Brookses of the world, a part of your tree, when you got these guys who have been coaching people like Sweepy, like the amount of things you learn that you would have never learned is insurmountable, and it matters. And so when you're thinking about these guys developing these skill sets, that inside fighting, you're talking about an entire different caliber of a fighter who really can fight as a prize fighter on the inside, like old Mongoose, Archie Moore, like Dwight Muhammad Cowie. You hear me talk about a lot of the same big names, but these guys had mastered a craft. And now we're going to reflect back and answer a couple of other people who've dropped their knowledge right here. Here's Coach. Coach, do you think Ryan is going through some mental health issues? So on fight night, he won't be in the right head space to see out of to set out on a complete game plan. I'm sorry. Some of that is shenanigans. Some of it is real mental health. And not saying it's something wrong. Something is wrong with every single person watching this feed, and you know it. The thing about it is the cameras are always on Ryan, and part of Ryan's job now, he's entertainment. He is an influencer. And the trade-off is people get to see every phase of you. And he benefits from it monetarily. So you can't buy all the way into that. And Coach, that was a great question. I don't think when they're in the ring fighting that is the issue. The issue is the time that it takes away from you boxing when you're doing your social media, when you're becoming that influencer, when you're out and about, then trying to have a minute to your to implement your real life, what you're doing in life. It starts to impede on your final product on fight night because maybe you got skills, but just like when he was in the ring with Tank in the 7th round and he heard 9, that was a decision. Because if it wasn't, you don't get up at 10. When you hurt, you hurt. You don't lose an opportunity to win a title by a third of a second. You can get up at 10, you can get up at 9. If you can't get up at 9, you can't get up at 10. So you don't have those other, that warrior. There are levels to that warrior. And when you start fighting for titles, you're fighting for the bag, you're fighting for more. Therefore, you got to realize you need every hour you can get in camp. Everything, your program meetings, which aren't the things that are develop your skills, is the thing that make your skills better, better condition to your skill, better speed, better power, better attributes when you're going into a ring. They're just sharper, but it's not the actual skill. All right. So I want you young coaches to think about this as you're going through these phases because it's important. And I got a couple of more little questions, and then we're going to go back through the finished questions. Like Ryan's chances if Haney falls into that trap of 50-50 exchanges. No, yeah, Haney, until he makes a mistake of trying to be an output fighter, that won't be a mistake that he makes out of the gate. He'll probably make it late. 9th round, 10th round. That's where you start saying, I might be able to get this guy out of here. And then you might throw caution to the wind. Let's go with the next section. What's the next question? All right. Okay. Who will have the most financial lucrative career? All right. I want you guys to all take a second and think about that and tell me who between these two will have the most lucrative career when it's all said and done? Drop that down in the comment boxes. I want to really see how you guys think and understand the actual business of boxing and who has the actual understanding of the business enough to skyrocket and catapult. And when their career is all said and done, that they will have really mastered the art and the business of boxing. Drop that down in the comment boxes. Give me a second and I'll give you guys something. Let me get Pugilism has dropped another joint. I'm gonna get him. Yeah, peel joint, frame control, the guards. Yeah, I like that. Pugilism. That's it. Those are some of the actual tactics that you'll need to do and implement in order for you to overcome a guy who's slick like Devin Haney. Because a master boxer, remember, he does know how to take away everything you have. The thing about it is he going to choose to, or has he allowed his ego to get in the way? Yep. Yep. That's right. Sweet Pea, my man. Yeah. He was definitely different. And I had a exchange with Sweet Pea in his last days, as far as I was supposed to go and rap with him that weekend. And I did. And we missed each other multiple times. And we had to get over here. Over here, special shouts out to my boys, Norfolk Hit Squad. We went up there and put in that work. Keyshawn Davis, Kevin Davis, Keyshawn's brother, all those guys. Keyshawn was actually coming. That was the Olympics. That was the year of the Olympics. And Keyshawn was, he was about to come and show y'all some stuff. When he finished with those Olympics, he silver medaled. I had him winning that final round, but he silver medal. And then, of course, he's the champion. He is right now. He's a killer. Sweet Pea Norfolk. Well, I thought I saw another thing. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next banner. And who did the best marketing and promotion? Who did you guys appreciate seeing most? Because that was one of the things that I take great notice in, is how good these individuals have really showed what they know about boxing, marketing, and promoting. And with that being said, I'm going to give you all some of the more insightful things about learning boxing, because if you're a young coach or not a young coach, but if you're stuck in your ways and don't understand how to use the internet in your favor, I'm going to let you know how important that it is. Because at the beginning of the show, and if you didn't see the beginning of the show, go to the beginning of the show, rewind this back and watch it. And it basically lets you know that we're going to show you secrets to take your regular life of being a boxer and become more box office. And here's what it's going to require from you. And coaches, I want you to remember, if you're a fighter, just listen to these guys talk about the importance of what you need to do as a fighter these days.
Marketing genius. What he's doing is just hilarious.
You're in this wild story of boxing, and the bigger the characters, the bigger the promotion, the better the narrative, and the bigger the fight.
Build strategy.
And the bottom line is,
BKFC is so great because they have this prospect series. Ask some people like, hey, will you do a liner for us or tag and promote, that we're on fight this Saturday or whatever. That the guys that make all the money will say yes. I can get Jake Paul to do something. We can get KSI to do something for us.
Yeah.
We can do all these people who are making money. But then you ask some guy lower on the card, will you do this for me? And then they never get around to it. And it's like, there's a reason why you're not moving ahead.
And that's what we're dealing with. A lot of you coaches, you think all you have to do now is teach your fighter skill, but you need to be in his ear and making sure that he understands no promoter is going to want him on his card. So what's the purpose of just having him great with skills, but he's not box office? And boxing is about putting people in those chairs that you can see. So I don't want you guys to overlook that. And if you don't understand how to really build an audience of people, you got to learn to get popularity. And that's one of the main reasons at the very beginning of the show, we made it very clear that if you don't understand how to get your career to the next level, go to jabjuice.com. Jabjuice.com. Clear. Why? Because building yourself up for the people that need to hear about what you do is a big thing. And some of you guys have popularity already. The only thing is you're not popular on the internet. When you become popular on the internet, you start being in control. And I got a word from my boy Jake, and Jake is actually on set right now over in Hollywood. But he wanted to leave this message to all of you so that you understand the importance of building your own personal identity and popularity and what it means to you and your career. So he did this specially for you guys.
And building your own personal brand or a company brand is one of the most important things to do, because it allows you to sell without actually selling. Because people know what you are and believe in who you are or what you are in terms of a company. Think of Elon Musk, right? Has a brand. You know what he's about. And so he can put up a new Tesla. Tesla barely has to do any marketing. Do you see ads for Tesla? No. Do you see big promotional campaigns like Ford, Toyota, name any of the big car companies? No, because they have a brand and they've really stood behind their brand. And that's what separates them from their competitors. You can think any big entrepreneur, The Rock, let's take The Rock, has a brand. So he can stand behind a product and you know exactly what it's gonna be, what it's gonna represent, because it's part of his brand. He doesn't have to go hard selling his tequila or his face creams or any of the other products he's decided to build, because he's built a brand. So yeah, branding is not gonna be a 1-year thing, a 2-year thing. It's gonna be, you gotta think within a longer term spectrum. But the longer you focus on brand, the less you have to spend in advertising, the less you have to work in marketing, the less you have to work in sales, because people have bought into the brand itself. Branding is the most important thing you can do in business, especially in marketing and in sales. It is the most important thing that you have to do if you want longevity in the marketplace.
Bing. It's the most important thing. When you start to be like the guys like Jake Paul, like there's so many different things that you'll get to do regularly, and reinventing yourself is one of those things, because you can tell, Jake will tell you himself that you have to reinvent yourself every day. You gotta outdo what you did yesterday, or give people a pivot, or don't let them see something coming, because you're continually remembering that you got to get new eyes on you, because those people, they've seen your hat tricks. And so we want all of you individuals to know that as we had this discussion, and our focus was to give you clarity and to make sure that you had true understanding of this sport and true understanding of the combat game at large, knowing how a fighter and a coach could simplify the game and understand that there are only 2 types of fighters in the world. As we recap all of these conversations, output fighter, input fighter, there only one important thing that you have to remember when you're developing as an athlete is that stay true to who you are inside of that boxing ring, because the ring will tell the truth about who you are every single time. So if you go in there trying to be somebody that you're not, what's going to happen is you're going to revert back to that person. So make sure that person is as polished as it comes. And when you are in that ring on fight night, that you are who you are, not who you want to pretend to be, because that guy ain't going to last long. You give him 2 good rounds, it's a wrap. Let me take this question here. Haney wins the fight, sets up the mega fight against Tank. This will see Haney's team sit on more millions than Ryan when their careers are over. Yeah, well, but you just heard what Jake said as well. When you're a brand, you can do it all. See, one of the posts that I put up yesterday was about one person goes to the gym to box. The other person goes to the gym to be box office. What are you going to be? Are you going to be a boxer? Or are you going to be box office? Are you going to hope and pray that everybody just desires to see you? Or are you going to go out here and you're going to build your personal brand? You see, the reflection of the day is all about understanding your identity and making sure that people understand who you are. And your popularity does matter in today, because now these fighters, everywhere you look, they're in social media doing something because it's required. So get your fighters conditioned. And if they don't know how to go about it, and if you don't know how to lead them into that direction, go to jabjuice.com and make sure, because there's a questionnaire at the beginning to make sure we understand who's there, because everybody is not meant to be at this level. When we're talking about, we're the actual connectors to every phase of boxing. Well deserved, 4 decades in this thing. And if you are able to see that light, and you know that you guys have the pedigree, the only thing you don't have is the understanding of and the comprehension on how this internet works. I talked to a young man yesterday who was a fighter, owned the gym, great gym, but he wanted to understand how to become more of an influencer on the internet. And I was happy to oblige. The thing about knowing is having more power, and more knowledge is leveraging you so that you can be one day in that position that those fighters are right now. So remember, one thing without the next. You got to put both of those ropes around that journey and bring it together. And when you do that, that's where everything, the rubber meets the road. I'm going to take one more question down here. Let me see what my man is saying. Oh, I think that's Otis. The app cut him off. No, not a big deal, brother. We appreciate you coming on, and thank you guys for taking the time. Sorry, but this is just going to be an epic fight, and I can't wait to let you all in on going out here and making sure that when you start making your decisions on fighters' career and trainers, I want you to remember, build your damn brand too, because what you can do when you get a brand built, that means your level of popularity all over the internet. What it's going to do for you is give you those abilities and opportunities to speak about what you are, to show people how good you are, to give you the same light that I got the opportunity every single month. Over 20 million people I get to relate to. That's not something that I take lightly. I work my ass off to make sure that I don't come lazy. And you can go through, look at every single podcast show, and you can see dedicated team, dedicated commitment. We don't miss a day, and we always stay connected and listen to what you guys say. So when you think about it, Ryan Garcia, this style matchup, output versus input fighter, who has more of the characteristics of the other one, and who will go into the ring with their actual identity, because that's going to be the difference. And on the prediction show on Saturday, we're going to hop on and we're going to probably have access to the fight for 20, maybe 10 people. For those of you who've commented, make sure that you tag somebody who you know would enjoy watching this post. And no matter what you do, if you're not following Master Boxing, boy, you're late to the dance. Make sure you continue to follow us at Master Boxing across the social media platforms. My name is Eric A. Bradley. And once again, if you're in that place now that you know you rocking, but your numbers ain't, jabjuice.com. All of you other guys, thanks again for watching. Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to do a fight prediction. So make sure that you're on lock, because if not, we're going to come find you. We're going to be streaming all through the internet until we get you by the lasso in the ankles. That's all I got. Be blessed at Godspeed. Coach Bradley, I'm signing out. Until next time, I'll see you guys soon in the winner's circle. Peace.